For decades, India's labour system stood divided across 29 separate laws, some written as far back as the pre-independence era. Workers, especially those in the unorganized and informal sectors, lived with uncertainty. No written appointment letters, inconsistent minimum wages, unclear safety norms, and little access to social security. Businesses, especially MSMEs, struggled with complex compliance, repeated filings, and unpredictable inspections. It was a system everyone agreed needed change, but no government had managed to bring that change until now. On 21st November 2025, a landmark reform set in motion by the Modi government finally came into effect: the implementation of the 4 labour codes. The Code on Wages, the Industrial Relations Code, the Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, the Code on Social Security. These codes bring India's labour framework into one modern, transparent and predictable system, ensuring protection for workers and clarity for employers. It is one of the biggest structural reforms in independent India's history, and one that directly impacts millions of families across the country. The first major shift is the guarantee of mandatory written appointment letters. This single change gives workers, especially those in the informal sector, proof of employment, clarity of terms, and a safeguard against exploitation. For the first time, workers who were earlier hired verbally now have documentation that secures their rights. Another transformative change is the application of universal minimum wages. Earlier, minimum wages applied only to select industries and scheduled employment. Today, every worker across sectors is covered. This eliminates decades of disparity and ensures that no one is left without legal wage protection. The codes also strengthen the principle of fair compensation. Overtime must now be paid at twice the regular wage rate, bringing nationwide uniformity and protecting workers who put in additional hours. Alongside this, the codes mandate safer workplaces, periodic health checkups, and uniform occupational safety standards across industries. One of the most significant advancements is the expansion of social security through EPF, Employees Provident Fund, ESIC, Employees State Insurance Corporation, and a new framework for gig and platform workers. Millions who were previously outside formal safety nets will now receive structured, legally backed protection. Whether it is a factory worker, a delivery partner, a driver on an app-based platform, or a contract employee, each of them is now recognized in law and covered through a system designed to include, not exclude. The codes also bring a decisive improvement in women's participation in the workforce. Women can now work in all types of establishments, including night shifts, provided adequate safety measures are ensured. This opens new avenues in manufacturing, services and retail, especially in sectors like textiles, e-commerce and hospitality. An important protection many families will value is that accidents occurring during commute while traveling to or from the workplace are now recognized for compensation. For workers who spend hours on the road daily, this is a major step towards security and justice. While the focus is strongly on worker welfare, the codes also modernize the way businesses function. Instead of multiple registrations, multiple licenses, and multiple annual returns, companies now work with a single registration, single license, and single return system. Inspections are more transparent, less arbitrary, and based on clearly defined criteria. Disputes will now be resolved through streamlined tribunals with 2-member benches, reducing pendency and creating predictability for both employers and employees. These reforms are especially impactful for MSMEs, which form the backbone of India's manufacturing and services. With simplified compliance, digitized processes, and clearer guidelines for fixed-term employment, MSMEs gain the flexibility to hire based on seasonal demand while ensuring full statutory benefits for workers. This reduces informality and supports both growth and fairness. In the textile sector, one of India's largest employers, uniform safety rules, simplified hiring norms, and long-awaited clarity on working hours and benefits will help factories operate confidently while improving the lives of millions of workers, especially women who form a large part of this workforce. For dock workers, who perform some of the most physically demanding tasks in the logistics chain, the new codes ensure proper registration of docks, improved safety requirements, and access to EPF, pensions, and insurance. Contract and temporary workers who earlier struggled for recognition now gain coverage and compensation under a uniform national framework. This is a long overdue modernization of maritime labor protections. Even gig and platform workers, a category that did not exist 2 decades ago, now have a legal identity in India's labor system. This is a forward-looking provision, positioning India among the few countries that have formally recognized and protected this rapidly growing workforce. Together, these changes shift India from a fragmented, outdated regime to a unified, modern, protection-based labor ecosystem. The codes are structured to give workers dignity and security, businesses predictability and flexibility, and the nation a labor market ready for global competition. Above all, the implementation of the labor codes reflects a clear political will, the resolve to complete a reform that had remained pending for over 20 years. The Modi government has not only consolidated laws but created a framework that supports both economic growth and social justice without compromising one for the other. As the codes come into full operation, the impact will be felt in every corner of the country, from factories and construction sites to delivery networks, textile units, ports, retail outlets, and MSMEs. Workers gain recognition, families gain stability, and businesses gain confidence. This is not merely administrative reform. This is a structural transformation designed to protect India's workforce today and prepare it for the opportunities of tomorrow. A modern labor system for a modern India. A reform that strengthens both dignity and development. A reform that was long overdue and finally delivered.